Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got a busy show today. I mean, we will be reacting to the college football rankings. Things are really heating up at the winter meetings. Guys are getting signed, so we'll get to that. But we got to start with Week 15 in the NFL. We got to start with a huge matchup in the AFC East between the Pats and the Bills. The Pats win this game; they win their first AFC East title since 2019. Mike Vrabel doesn't want to call it a hat and t-shirt game. No, does not want to call it a hat and t-shirt game. But if they win, it'd be their first division title since Tom Brady left. And for the Bills, they want to win the AFCs. They got to win on Sunday, or they'll be a wild card. And they survived last week. They were down 10 in the fourth quarter, and Christian Benford did that huge play against the Joe Burrow. So this game, I think it's going to be a close, competitive game, just like it was in Buffalo back in October. I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. But I think the difference in this game is going to be, I think the Bills are actually going to be the team that runs the football a little bit better in this game. I think the Bills are going to be the team that runs the ball better. And I think they're going to be able to get more pressure on the quarterback than the Patriots, because we all know the biggest weakness of the Patriots defense is their defensive line, and they want to have Milton Williams. And also on the other side of the ball for the Patriots, they don't have Will Campbell. Now, it didn't matter last game because Abdul Carter was suspended for a quarter and they went up 17-0. So it really didn't matter the last game. But I think it's going to matter this game. I think it's going to matter, especially if Joey Bosa plays. I think it's going to matter. I think that Drake May is going to turn the ball over once in this game. I think Josh Allen is going to outplay Drake May. I think that's what's going to be. I think the Bills will run the ball a little bit better, and Josh Allen outplays Drake May. It's close and competitive. I think it comes right down to the end. I think it's right down to the end with the ball in Josh Allen's hands. And I just can't see Josh Allen losing the Patriots twice in a year. The last time he lost to the Patriots twice in a year was 2019. And he wasn't anywhere near the player he was then than he is now. So I just can't see Josh Allen losing twice to the Patriots. And the Bills are just so good in December. I mean, remember, they're just so good in the month of December. Josh Allen is so good in the month of December. Like, there's a lot of years where back in 21, remember Mac Jones' rookie year, the Patriots had control of the division. Bills came back and beat them. 2023, Dolphins had control of the division. Bills came back and beat them. Bills cruised in the division in 2020, 22, and 24. But the Bills have always been just a really, really good team in December. Josh Allen's been really good in December. And that's why I'm going to go with the Bills here. I'm going with the Bills 27-24 over the Patriots. But, Justin, can the Patriots clinch their first AFC East title since 2019?
I think they do. I got the Pats 28-24. Yeah, you're talking about Josh Allen there in the month of December. So 2020, he's 19-3 at the starting quarterback.
That's crazy. That's 19-3. Only 3 losses in the month of December. That's crazy. One of them, I think, is to the Patriots too. That game where Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times in 2021. Yeah,
that Monday night game. Yeah. They took the script out of the Navy's offense there. That Monday night game was like 50-mile-per-hour winds. So I think in this one, the Patriots, I think for Vrabel coming out the guy. They're an underdog here at home, which I think Vrabel's going to have that team kind of motivated to kind of, use that as motivation this week. And the Bills should have lost last week. Like, Burrow kind of handed them 2 interceptions late in that game that kind of came back and the Buffalo was able to get. I think Drake May played pretty well against his defense. I think he has a pretty good game through the air. I know not having Will Campbell is going to hurt. And Vidari Lowe is going to start in his place. Did play pretty well against New York 2 weeks ago. I think the Patriots, they're a better rushing offense than they were the first time that they met back in early October. So I think the Pats will have success on the ground against this one. And the first time around too, the Patriots just manned up the Bills wide receivers, and they really didn't do a ton. These Bills receivers really don't great, and I think the Patriots secondary plays well enough. And as long as Drake May protects the football, which I think he will in this one, I think the Pats at home here get the win.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about the Bills receivers. Yeah, if you man them up, especially the Patriots with the corners they have, I mean, they got much better corners than the Bengals have. I mean, they got, Christian Gonzalez, one of the best corners in the league. They got Carlton Davis. They got Marcus Jones. Yeah, they could man them up. My issue there, though, if they play man coverage, are they going to be able to – they got to have a spy, though, on Josh Allen. And Josh Allen can give them problems because he can run. As you saw last week, you saw the big run he had to cut the Bengals lead to 3 and then the run at the end of the game. So if you play man coverage, you got to be careful because you can't have your back turned towards Josh Allen because he is a major, major threat running the football.
Absolutely is. That's the one worry. Last time, he's a leading rusher. I think he had 9 carries for 53 yards in the last one. In this one, so that's always a problem with his legs that you got to spy him, and that turns 11 on 10. And that could always be an issue. But I expected 2 weeks too for the Patriots to press too. I think they have a pretty good defensive game plan coming into this one. I trust Vrabel and the staff to have an answer and have a plan for that. So yeah, Josh Allen's a major threat with his legs, but I expect him to put a spy on him and try to contain him enough where he doesn't win the game with his legs.
And you're right about Mike Vrabel. You're definitely right about Mike Vrabel about having a plan. You're definitely right about Mike Vrabel having a plan and having 2 weeks to prepare, because he's going to prepare, and they're going to be ready. I mean, an AFC's title's on the line. This is a well-coached team, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Patriots win. I just can't see Josh Allen losing to a team twice in 1 year. He was the MVP of the league last year. To me, he's still the second best player in the NFL. I just don't see him losing twice to a team. He hasn't lost the Patriots twice since his second year in the league, and I don't think he is. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots won.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked. Either way, whoever wins this football game, and yeah, for the Bills, Josh Allen not losing twice in 6 years of the Patriots, and yeah, something where he's been so good in the month of December, he can overcome that, and he can go to Foxborough and get the win. But Patriots are the hottest team in football right now. And now coming off the bye, I know they're a little banged up, but the way Drake May's been playing, I know the defense is a little banged up, but I think with their secondary, I think they do enough here to knock off the Bills. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and Bills are a really good team with Josh Allen, and I just think the Patriots roster, and does enough here to slow down Josh Allen, because I've said it from I think if you take out Josh Allen, this is not a playoff team. I think Josh Allen elevates his roster like Joe Burrow does in Cincinnati. It's not a great team around him, and I think Patriots do enough to contain Josh Allen and make him not be the difference to win this football game.
Yeah, I think it's a better team than that's a good point, but I think it's a little bit better than Joe Burrow. I think it's a little bit better. I think the defense is, because you got players like Christian Benford's a good player.
Yeah.
You got Gregory Rousseau. You still got Boza on that defense. So I think that it's better, but it's a good point. Yeah, because you look at the receivers. They can't get any separation. The receivers can't get separation. The O-line outside of Deion Dawkins, has been questionable. So that is a good point there. But if looking at the point spread of this game, the Bills are favored by 1.5. Do you feel like the Patriots are being disrespected here a little bit?
I think a little bit, yeah. 10-game winning streak here. I know the Bills are good and they got Josh Allen, but it's a team that's playing really good football that's coming off a bye, and I'm okay with it because I just think it's more motivation for Mike Vrabel and staff to kind of motivate this team that you're still being disrespected, even though you've won 10 straight football games here and you're coming off a bye and at home, and you got a chance to clinch a division, and you're still the dog in this one. So I think Vrabel will use that as fuel, and so I kind of like it. So I don't mind that they're dog, but I do think they deserve some respect here, that they should be the favorite.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, even though I think the Bills are going to win this game. I was a little bit surprised with the Patriots winning 10 in a row and then being a point and winning 10 in a row and then being a point and a half underdogs at home in a game where they have a 2-game lead on the Bills. I was a little bit surprised by that, but they've kind of been like the underdog all year. And a lot of guys in that defense are kind of guys that have been cut from other teams or not re-signed from teams. You get guys like Milton Williams. I mean, Milton Williams won't play, but you guys got guys like Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, Christian Ellis, guys on that defense that have been either cut or they've been not signed by other teams, and they've kind of came together. Vrabel has got this defense to play together and kind of got this team to play together. Stephon Diggs. So this team is kind of made up of a lot of guys that have been counted out, and Vrabel has got them to play together.
Yeah, he has, and I feel like even in Tennessee, like the Tannehill stuff, like Tannehill wasn't great quarterback there, and he got enough out of him, with the year that they were 1 seed, and that Tennessee roster wasn't great, and for them to be like a 1 seed was kind of surprising. I know they got eliminated pretty early in the playoffs, but yeah, I think Vrabel's really good at kind of motivating his teams, and yeah, if they find guys who get like a second chance, and they've been, he's been really good at identifying talent that they may haven't worked elsewhere that could work in the system. So he's been really good because, again, this is one of the worst rosters in football. And I know they have some turnover. I know the roster's a bit better, but we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I still don't put it this roster like top 10 in football. That's being an honest Patriot fan.
It's in the teens, I'd say. It's in the teens.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not a great roster, and he's getting everything out of this football team that he can. So I think that's the most impressive part, and it shows why he's such a great coach. And just you wonder why teams didn't sign, did not hire this guy after Tennessee fired him. It again, I love it, but it's Raheem Morris, really?
I know.
Atlanta could have used
He's
Mike
terrible.
Vrabel.
He's terrible. Yeah, I know. Mike. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. Vrabel should definitely have gotten a job last year, and Tennessee should have never fired him. Now, before we wrap up talking about this game, the question really is the winner of this game, should the winner of this game be the favorite to win the AFC? I'm going to say if it's the Bills, yes, because they'd be going on the road and winning. I think that this would be a big one for the Bills. If it's the Patriots, say the Patriots win and the Broncos win, I would still say the Broncos. I think the coach and the roster are better in Denver. And I'm not saying that Sean Payton is much better than Mike Vrabel. He's a little bit better than Mike Vrabel because he's got a championship. So I say if the Bills win, yes. Patriots, no. But right now, I have these teams as the two of the top three contenders in the AFC.
Yeah, for me, it's the Patriots. I think for either team, if they win, are the favorite. So I think if the Patriots can knock off Buffalo again, look, I know the Chiefs have like a 6% chance to make the playoffs again. If I still don't want to see them, but the Texans are a really good team. They got their defense playing well, and the offense starting to come together. But that's a team in the playoffs in their 23 years. And yeah, it's a franchise. They never show up in these big playoff games at times. Like they never play well in the playoffs. I really like the Broncos. What Bo Nix is going to show up for me? I don't know that. You don't take anybody in the NFC North, and then if Patriots can knock off the Bills twice, I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times, especially as good as the Bills, but I'll take our chances. So for me, the Patriots, and for the Bills the other way, like, yeah, I'd be a little worried even if Buffalo's got to come back to New England AFC Championship game or something. I'd be worried, if the Bills can win this. So I'd say either whoever wins is the favorite to win the AFC.
Yeah, should be an interesting game between these two teams, these two AFC East rivals on Sunday afternoon at 1:00. Now we will move on to the 4:00 game in Denver this week. Got the Packers, got a big win against the Bears. They will head to Denver to take on the Broncos, who have also won 10 in a row. They're tied for the longest winning streak with the Patriots. And I think this is a close competitive game. But I think at the end of the day, I think what's gonna be the difference is I think Denver's pass rush is gonna be the difference. And I think Bo Nix is gonna make like he's done all year. He's gonna play okay for 3 quarters, but I think he's gonna come up big in the fourth quarter. I think the game is gonna be close. I think it's gonna be competitive. But I'm gonna go with the Broncos here. I'm gonna go with the Broncos to win their 11th straight and do what they've done all year: win games in the fourth quarter. And I think I think that's what it's going to be. I think their pass rush is going to be the biggest difference in this game. I think they're sacked Jordan Love 2 or 3 times. I think they're going to contain Josh Jacobs if they force a turnover from Jordan Love. I think it's going to be close and competitive. But I'm going to go Broncos here. I'm going to go Broncos. I got the Broncos 23-20 over the Packers. But Justin, can Love lead the Packers to their 5th straight win and keep them on top in the NFC North?
Yeah, I got Green Bay going on the road in this one, 21-17. Jordan Love's been great in the month of December. Touchdown to INT ratio is 19-2. His complete percentage over 67%. And I think he plays well enough in this one against a really good Broncos defense. I think he makes enough plays this week. And I think the last couple of weeks they've kind of let Love kind of just play, and they're not as conservative as they were at the beginning of the year. And I think they get a lead early here, and that they let that pass rush get going led by Micah Parsons. So I like this Green Bay team. I think Love plays well enough here, and I just with the Broncos, I think they stay in it, but they fall down behind early. If they get bad Bo Nix early against that Packers defense, it could be tough for him to come back from. I know he's great in the fourth quarter, but that Green Bay pass rush could be tough. And I know the last couple of weeks Bo Nix made some nice plays on the run through the air, but I think the Green Bay Packers kind of contain them and try to keep that from happening.
And you're right about that. If they get behind early, like say they get behind 2 or 3 scores, they'll be in big trouble in this game. Because I know the Broncos offensive line is one of the best in the NFL, but if they got to face Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons, they're in big trouble. They got for the Broncos to win this game, they got to be behind by like a touchdown going to the fourth quarter. They can't be behind by 2 scores because if they are, they're going to lose this game because Bo Nix isn't going to be able to bring them back down 2 scores against this defense. If they're down a touchdown, yes, he can bring them back. But if they're down 2 scores, they can't. So that's a really good point that Bo Nix has got to be, for the first 3 quarters, he's got to be pretty good. He's got to be better than he's been for the first 3 quarters of the game. He's got to be if they want to win this game, and I think he will. I think he will. I think he'll keep him in it, and I think the Broncos will win. I think the biggest reason they'll win is because the offensive lines. I think Denver's pass rush will be more impactful than Green Bay's pass rush. That's why I think that Denver is going to win this game.
Yeah, I could totally see because Denver's got a really good pass rush as well, and it could really be a game of whoever kind of gets the lead first, kind of keeps it. But yeah, I could totally see it because Denver's got one of the best seasons in the league. They're on pace of, I think they're still on pace to break the sack record of the 85 Bears, and which would be very impressive. So yeah, I could see it either way. There's how both teams are really good with the pass rush, and both quarterbacks got to then protect the football when they're under pressure too, and that could be big because both these teams are very good. So if one of these quarterbacks can give the other one short field of possession or two, that could really make a big difference in this football game as well.
You're right about both quarterbacks protecting the ball. That's a big key. That's a big key because if one of them whoever turns, I think it's really going to be, which I know Jordan Love's better than Bo Nix, but yeah, it's going to be whichever one protects the football. Because yeah, if they're turning the ball over, that's going to be rough. That could be rough for both quarterbacks. It definitely could be. Now, looking at these teams, the Packers are the number 2 seed in the NFC. Broncos are the number 1 seed in the AFC. Which one of them do you has a better chance to make it to the Super Bowl? I'm going to go with the Broncos because there's a good chance they could have home field advantage throughout, and they're going to be at home. Seattle's the Packers. There's a good chance they might have to go through the Seahawks and the Rams to get there. So I'm going to go with the Broncos because I think they'll have an easier road than the Packers, and they got the better head coach. They have a head coach that's done it before and has gotten to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl before.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have to go with the Broncos as well, with Sean Payton at the helm, and Bo Nix, who he's if you can get good Bo Nix, I really trust Bo Nix. That's still one question, week in, week out. But yeah, and you mentioned it too. Like I think the Rams right now, you either have to go, you might have to go to LA or Seattle, which aren't not going to be easy places to play. In Denver, you're not going to have a Kansas. You're probably not going to have a Kansas City. You're probably not going to have Baltimore. Um, the Patriots are a young team, just like the Broncos are, that don't have a ton of playoff experience. Same thing with Jacksonville. Really haven't seen out of Houston over the years. So, yeah, I think it's just an easier path for Denver than with Green Bay because I said it a couple weeks ago. I think whoever comes out of the NFC is probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. If I had the bet right now, I'd probably take the team out of the NFC. So I think the Broncos have a better shot right now than Green Bay.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do. It should be interesting though. Really, really big game for both teams. For Green Bay, they want to stay on top in the NFC North. For the Broncos, they want to stay on top in the AFC West, and they want to stay on top in the AFC, and they're at home. So it's a big game for both teams. Now we move on to the NFC and the team that is behind the Packers in the standings, and that is the Lions. They take on the Rams. You got Jared Goff and Stafford going at it again. Seems like we've seen this matchup a lot between these two quarterbacks. Now, Goff has had the better of them. I think he's won like the last 3 times that they've went the last 2 or 3 times they went up against each other. So I think Goff has had the better of Stafford. But out in LA, with the Lions being so banged up in the secondary, the Lions are so banged up in the secondary. I think this is a big day for Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to have a big day. He's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. He's going to throw for over 300 yards. I think the Rams offense is a huge day, but I also think the Lions offense is a big day. I think, Jared Goff is a big day, through the air. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a big day. I think it's a big day for both offenses. But at the end of the day, I got to take the team right now. The quarterback and the roster and the coach I trust more, and I'm going to go with the Rams here. I'm going to go with the Rams. I got the Rams 34-27 over the Lions. But Justin, can Goff get another win against his former team and keep the Lions in the playoff race in the NFC?
No, I'm with you here. I got LA as well, 31-24. Should be a shootout. And you mentioned the Lions secondary, how banged up they are. Losing Brian Branch last week, it's just another kind of that's another big loss to the team. And look, Stafford had a really good bounce back performance last week, and I'd be surprised if this Rams team doesn't put up over 30 points this week. And with Goff too, I think he does play a pretty good game, but Sean McVay knows him better than anybody else. And I think McVay, I trust the Rams defense to get one stop in that game more right now than I trust Detroit with all the injuries defensively. So I like the way Stafford in that offensive playing. Puka Nacua is a stud, and I'm gonna trust that Rams defense, that especially if they can get to a lead early, another team where they can get after you with the pass rush. I know the Lions offensive line's solid, but still, if you can try to, because Gibbs is such a great running back, and he's so good in the, him and Montgomery are both, they're a great 1-2 combo. But yeah, if that Rams pass rush can kind of get after him early on, I think it'd be huge as well. So I like the way the Rams outside the Carolina game have been playing the last couple months, and I think they're the best team in football.
Yeah, I think the Rams right now are the best team too. I agree. I got them and the Bills in the Super Bowl right now. I think the Rams are the best team in football. And yeah, you made a good point about the pass rush. You made a good point about the pass rush, where the Lions again can't get far behind. Again, you've seen that especially from the interior. I think this it could be a big game for Kobe Turner. Could be a very big game for Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk. I think they could have big games here, getting pressure, especially getting interior pressure on Matthew Stafford. And speeding up his clock. So yeah, I could see a Ram. I definitely could see the Rams winning it by 2 scores because of their pass rush. Yeah, the Lions got to run the ball. There's no 2 things the Lions got to do to stay in the game. They got to run the ball, and they can't get behind early because the interior of the interior of the Lions O line. There's a reason they will try to get Frank Ragnow back out of retirement. It's not good. So I think that the Rams defense. That's why the Lions need to keep the game close early on if they want any chance of winning this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if the Lions can get out to an early lead, be able to run the football and establish that, I think they're in great shape. And yeah, but the way the Rams are playing, though, I just think the Lions defense is so banged up that the Rams are going to be outscore the Lions in this one. And yeah, and if the Rams too, yeah, you mentioned can get that interior pass rush too, it's going to make all the difference in the world because we've seen at times if you can get in Goff's face, he'll make a mistake or two. We've seen it before, so I think the Rams could do that. I think McVay knows that as well, and I think the Rams are going to absolutely try to get that, and try to force Goff to make a bad throw or two, in this one.
Yeah, I could see it. I definitely could see it. So interesting game here between the Rams and the Lions on in LA on Sunday afternoon. So an interesting game there. One of the biggest stories of this week has been the Colts and the shocking signing to their practice squad, and that's Philip Rivers. And the big question is what are the chances that Philip Rivers is actually going to play in a game for them? I just don't know at this point. He hasn't played in 5 years. It's very it's very questionable. I don't know. The guy he hasn't even played a game in 5 years, so I'm not sure. I mean, it's crazy that he's being signed after not playing since 2020. It's crazy this guy has been signed to the practice squad. The big question, yeah. I mean, is he going to play in a game? Is he going to play in a game? I don't think so. I think they would even go to Brett Rippon, who's on their practice squad right now, before they would have Philip Rivers start a game. I mean, I know he knows Shane Steichen's offense. He knows Shane Steichen. He knows the offense. But if he gets into a game, it could be a lot of trouble, seeing that he hasn't played in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it could be very problematic. Yeah, because he hasn't played in 5 years. He's never known for his mobility. Now he's 44. I can't imagine, like it. The games are so fast, and for him to be out of the game for 5 years and come back and try to get this team out of the hole that they're in, trying to salvage their season. I see it very unlikely. I know Brett Rippon's not great either, but I feel like that's a guy that's been in the league in the last couple of years and not Rivers. I know he, knows Shane's offense, and I guess that's what he's running with his high school team. But like it's different if you're in the game being the quarterback at that age. And I know Brady was able to do it for as long as he could, but I can't imagine he gets in a game and he's more of just like an emergency quarterback situation.
And to me, it looks like Riley Leonard's going to play. He is practicing right now, so it looks like he is going to be the one who starts against the Seahawks. But the bigger story right now for the Colts is their season over? That Daniel Jones tore his Achilles. Looking at what they got down the road, looking at they got Seattle this week, they got San Francisco next week, and they got Jacksonville at home, and then they got Houston on the road. I think they lose 4 straight. I think they go to 8-9. And looking at a move like this with Philip Rivers and looking at him giving up 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, I think that Chris Ballard is going to get fired at the end of the year. I think it might be a clean sweep. If they lose 7 straight, I think Shane Steichen's gone, and I think Chris Ballard's gone. I think they're both gone at the end of the year if this team finishes 8-9, misses the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, because you trade those 2 firsts for Gardner. You're probably gonna need a quarterback now. Because it's unfortunate what happened to Daniel Jones, and he's about to get a huge payday. So it sucks for him to see him go down like that. And yeah, you're you gave up the 2 picks now. You're gonna, very well could lose 7 straight at the end of the year after such a great start that, I could see them cutting ties with Ballard, cutting ties with Shane Steichen, and resetting things because you're gonna have to try to draft a quarterback more than likely, unless could they be in play for Kyler Murray? Like, is
That's a
there
good point.
trade him?
They could be, but I mean, they're got to be so tired of just keep
That's a good point too.
signing these
Yeah.
kind of journeyman quarterbacks. I mean, it started after Andrew Luck. It started right after Andrew Luck retired. It started when they got Phillip Rivers in 2020, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Gardner Minshew that one year. Gardner Minshew that they drafted Anthony Richardson with Gardner Minshew that one year. So they got to be and then Jacoby Brissett the year that Andrew Luck retires, they got to be so tired of this cycle of journeyman quarterbacks. If you're them at this point, you got to, even though they're going to be in the middle of the draft, they're going to be in the middle. They're not even going to have a first round pick, so it's going to be even harder for them. So Kyler Murray might be their only option because they're not going to have a first round pick. They traded for Sash Gardner. At this point, Kyler Murray's probably going to be their only option.
Yeah, at the moment, because you're not going to franchise Jones now because he's not going to be ready probably to October, November. Yeah, like Murray might be your only option right now for Indy because unless I have to look at the draft more, and it depends too with the quarterbacks. Like, I don't know if there's, I don't think it's a D quarterback class that's coming out. From the guys that you think are going to end up coming out here. So, you might have to give in and trade for Kyle Murray because that might be your one option right now. I'm not high on a ton of the quarterbacks coming out this year, so maybe they hit on one, but I don't know. I'm with you. They might just have to go and just give up some more assets to go get a Kyler Murray, or hope maybe Arizona cuts ties with them and
they sign him. Yeah,
no. But I bet he has a high cap hit, right, with Arizona. I don't know off the top of my head, but I assume it's a pretty big cap hit.
Yeah, it is, but I think they're going to cut. I think Arizona could get out of the contract, and they're probably going to cut ties with him at the end of the year. But yeah, it's now a team that looked like in the middle of the season was a Super Bowl 7-1, 8-2, looked like a Super Bowl contender. It is all falling apart for Indianapolis. It is completely falling apart for them, and it looks like there's a good chance it's going to completely fall apart, and it's going to end up costing Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard their jobs. And Chris Ballard should be gone. I mean, he's been there 9 years. They haven't won a division. If they miss the playoffs, Chris Ballard should be gone.
Yeah, he should be. 9 years and you can't win a division in that, win a division title in the AFC South. With that franchise, it's pretty disappointing. And you mentioned it too, like just he hasn't like in the one quarterback you drafted was Anthony Richardson, and that has turned into a massive failure. Unfortunately, so I would assume, especially the way things are going to end here, I would be surprised if they didn't cut ties with Ballard or Shane Steichen. I think both could be on the way out the door. Would it not be shocking?
Yeah, they should. The way things are going, they absolutely should be. There's no question that both of them should be out the door. The way things are going, if things continue to go south, there's no question that both of them should be out the door. Now, getting to this game, Colts and Seahawks, I don't think it's going to be much of a game. I just don't think it's going to be much of a game. I think that Seattle's defense, whoever plays quarterback, is going to have a very rough day against Seattle's defense. They're going to throw a couple picks. I think Sam Darnold's going to have a pretty good game, going to capitalize on those turnovers. I'm going Seattle here. I'm going Seattle 31-10 over the Seahawks. But Justin, can Jonathan Taylor run the Colts to an upset win in Seattle?
I don't see it happening either. I got the Seahawks 20-6 here. I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts the Seahawks pitch another shutout this week. Whoever plays quarterback, Tyler Leonard, he's a good runner. He's not a great thrower, and going against his defense, he's going to be very tough. And Jonathan Taylor, I assume they just stack 8 in the box and just say, Riley Leonard, beat us with your arm. And I don't need to be able to do that here. So I got Seattle winning comfortably at home.
And you could see Seattle starting to get back to what they were at home. And, in the Legion of Boone years, unbeatable at home. They're starting to because they've won a bunch of home games. They played really well at home. They're starting to play really well at home. So I see Seattle winning this one. I see Seattle winning this one again by 2 or 3 scores. I see them winning it. But right now, they're a top 3 team in the NFC. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Their biggest question is Sam Darnold. If he's protected and he's protecting the football, and Seattle's a really good team, and that's kind of the one hang up with me. But yeah, that defense is so good. You go back a couple weeks ago when they played the Rams, Darnold turned the ball over 4 times, and Seattle had a really good shot to win that football game. So that tells you all you need to know about that defense and how good it is and how good of a roster they have around them. And they're definitely ahead of schedule because I thought, with that defense, did not think they'd be this good this quick. So good on, heck of a job by Coach McDonald and that staff.
He definitely has done a nice job. He's definitely done a nice job there. Now we'll get to tomorrow night's game between the Falcons and the Bucs. The Falcons are really struggling right now with Kirk Cousins. Bucs are really struggling too. They started 6-2. They're now 7-6. Both these teams are really struggling. But I'm going to take the team at home right here. The team at home and the team that the game means more to. I think it's going to be a close game though. I think Baker Mayfield is going to be okay. I think Tristan Wirfs is a good chance he's out again. So I think the Falcons will get pressure on him. I think they will. But at the end of the day, I think it's coming down to the ball in Kirk Cousins' hands, and I don't trust Kirk Cousins getting it done. And that's why I'm going to go with the Bucs here. I'm going to go with the Bucs to bounce back from last week's loss to the Saints. I got them beating the Falcons at home 24-17. But Justin, can the Falcons get revenge from week 1 and pull the upset?
No, I got the Bucs here as well, 24-21. Yeah, Baker, I don't think he's totally healthy right now. They've lost 4 or 5 in the last 4 weeks. Baker hasn't thrown over 200 yards. So, look, all the Bucs need to do in the next couple weeks here, just beat the Panthers twice. So, that's kind of their main goal here, and we'll see if they can do it. But for this week, I think Bucky Irvin does enough on the ground. I don't know how much fight Atlanta's got left in them here in the next couple weeks. So, I'm gonna say the Tampa Bay Bucs pull this thing out at home, but I don't expect it to. I expect it to be a close game the way they're playing.
Yeah, I do. I expect it to be a close, competitive game just because I don't like the way Tampa's playing. I think Wirfs is out. As you said, Baker has struggled. Baker has definitely struggled. So yeah, I think it's going to be a competitive 1-score game, but I'm going with the Bucs here, 24-17 over the Falcons. Now we got a matchup in Philadelphia. The Eagles are struggling. They've lost 3 in a row, but they do get the Raiders at home, so they do have a really good opportunity for a get right week. But I don't think they're going to get totally right. I don't think they're going to get totally right. I mean, I think that their offensive line is still going to struggle a little bit without Lane Johnson. They looked awful offensively on Monday night. They looked terrible. Jalen Hurts looked really. You can say Saquon Barkley looked pretty good. It was one of his better games of the year. Had that big run, but the Eagles on top in front. AJ Brown, yes, he dropped a couple passes, but he looked pretty good too. Jalen Hurts has really struggled. This Eagles offensive line has struggled. So this Eagles offense has just been so inconsistent all season long. I think that continues here, but luckily for them, they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders have just been god awful this year. They've just been awful, especially offensively. They've just been god awful. So I think this is a close, competitive game, and I'm going to take the Eagles here to win an ugly one. There's going to be booing in Philadelphia this week. They're going to be booing, but I think the Eagles are going to get a break here, and I think they're going to win this. I think they're going to win this game 24-16 over the Raiders. But Justin, can the Raiders hand the Eagles their 4th straight loss?
No, I think the Eagles find a way to win this one 20-10. You might get Kenny Pickett this week, so maybe a little bit of a revenge game for him. Might be a better option than Geno at this point in time. Geno just hangs on the football way too long. Actually, my brother was telling me this weekend. Do you know who the Raiders offensive line coach is?
Who is it?
It's Carroll's kid. Yeah. So
they fire Chip Kelly, and their O-line's terrible, but they keep Pete Carroll. They keep his son.
Yeah. Yeah, so a little nepotism in
Vegas, a lot of nepotism
there. There is. So fortunately for Raiders, things aren't turning around soon. And yeah, the Eagles, do they run a play ever under under center beside the tush push? They just want shotgun. Yeah. It doesn't work. The fake tush push worked, and that was like Barkley's biggest run in the game. They're just a mess. Like, I don't expect them to get fixed here against Vegas. It's a short week, playing on Monday night, playing overtime. So, and whatever that positive bunny thing was in the Eagles locker room, that really worked too. That
didn't work at all.
Put up for Easter decoration. That was not great. And hey, if they fall behind this one too, it'll turn into a 70,000 boo fest as well.
What are the chances this becomes like 2023 and they collapse and miss the playoffs altogether and the Cowboys make the playoffs? Because you look at the schedules, the Eagles' schedule is pretty favorable. Outside of the Bills game in Week 17, they got this game. They got the Raiders and they got the Commanders twice. Now the Commanders could play them tough. They could beat them once, but I don't think they're going to collapse because I think they're going to get to 10 wins, and the Cowboys are going to have to win out to get to 10 wins. So I don't think it's going to be a complete collapse where they miss the playoffs altogether. But I do think that if they get in, they're going to be one and done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it'll be one and done for them. I don't think they're getting this thing fixed this year. They're just not. And yeah, they should win both those games against the Commanders, but the Commanders always give them problems. They always do. We'll see this year. I know they're really banged up right now and defense pathetic, but yeah, I think the Eagles will find a way to hold on. But I'm with you. I think whoever they get in the wild card round to knock them out.
Yeah, oh yeah. I just because they'll probably be at home, but I think say they get a Detroit
It'd be
or a
one of
San.
the yeah,
It's probably going to be
yeah.
like a Detroit, Chicago, or San Francisco. One of those teams. You saw what Chicago did to them on Black Friday. So I think whoever they get in the first round is going to beat them at home. I think whoever they get in the first round is going to beat them at home. But now moving on to the team that is behind the Eagles, only a game and a half behind. Even though they're 500, they've only won 6 of their 13 games. They are only a game and a half behind the Eagles in the NFC East, and that's the Cowboys. And they host the Vikings this week. And the Vikings defense, I think, will keep it competitive for a little while, but you just can't take JJ McCarthy against Dak Prescott. You can't. I think McCarthy's going to turn the ball over once or twice. I think Dak will throw a touchdown pass or two. And I think the Cowboys go to 7-6-1. They keep pace with the Eagles this week. I think they go to 7-6-1 and they beat the Eagles. I got the Cowboys 27-17 over the Vikings. But the Vikings defense pitched a shutout last week. Can they carry them to an upset win in Dallas?
I think they keep a minute back the Cowboys as well here, 23-16. Think it could be a long day for JJ McCarthy. I know he played well last week, but that's the Commanders' defense that can't stop anything right now. And I think Brian Flores is going to have a pretty good game plan to get after Dak Prescott. Try to make him uncomfortable, try to force him to make a mistake or two in this one. But I trust Dak Prescott to outplay JJ McCarthy, and they end up doing enough. And the Cowboys' defense makes a big stop or two in this one, and Dallas does end up winning the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they win it, and pretty much for them, they now got to run the table. The only way they're gonna the way they make the way they're gonna make the playoffs is they run the table. They go 10-6-1, and the Eagles go 1-3. The Eagles lose, one of those games of the Commanders. One of those games of the Commanders. It's gonna be hard. The Eagles will have to lose both the Commanders, and they'd have to lose and definitely lose the Buffalo game. So the Eagles are gonna have to go 1-3, and the Cowboys are gonna have to run the table. That's really their path to the postseason. That's their path to the postseason. Now, no, I'm mistaken. The Commanders have to beat them once. So if the Cowboys run the table and the Commanders and Bills beat the Eagles, the Cowboys do win the division. So, but the Cowboys because the Eagles are probably not going to go worse. Even with the way the Eagles are playing, they're not going to go worse than 2-2 against the Commanders twice, the Raiders, and the Bills. So. The Cowboys, to me, they got to run the table. They got to run the table. If they don't, they're not going to make the playoffs. But if they do, they have a chance with the way the Eagles are playing.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a chance, but this game and next week are kind of be the two toughest because then they got the Commanders on the road and the Giants on the road, and you think if their season's on the line, they can get both of those games there. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough because you would expect the Eagles to beat Vegas. You'd expect them to beat the Commanders, but again, the Commanders want to kind of spoil it. Maybe they can, but I'm not certain of that. So yeah, it's a tough uphill climb for Dallas, but I do think they the Philly is able to hold on just long enough here to get to back their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they are. I think Philly is going to back their way in. I think they are because I don't know if Dallas is going to win all 4 of those games. I don't think they're good enough to win their defense, even though their defense has been improved since Quentin Williams came back. They gave up 44 points last week to the Lions. So I don't think their defense is they don't think the Cowboys are good enough to win 4 in a row. I think the Eagles just barely back their way into the playoffs and get the number 3 or 4 seed. And the Cowboys missed the playoffs for the second straight year. But the Cowboys, they got to win this week at home on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings to keep their playoff hopes alive. Now we got a matchup in Chicago between the Browns and the Bears. And I think this might be close for a little bit, but I think the Bears running game is going to be really good here. I think they'll force a couple turnovers from Shador. And I got the Bears here winning by 2 scores. And if the Packers lose, they get back into first in the NFC North. I think the Bears go to 10-4. I got the Bears here 28-13 over the Browns. But Justin, can the Shador Sanders, play well again and lead the Browns to an upset win?
I think the Browns keep it close, but I got the Bears 21-17. Yeah, Shador put pretty well again last week. Good for them to let him kind of start the remainder of the games and see what you got here in the next couple weeks. So he's played well. And he deserves a shot here. And I do think, he can make some plays this week, but the Bears have done a really good job of forcing turnovers. I think they're able to force a couple again this week. And I think that Browns defense bounces back bounces back this week from that performance that they showed last week, because Tony Pollard ran all over them, and it was very surprising how bad they played. I think they bounce back, keep it close, but I do like the Bears here to pull out a home win.
Yeah, I do too. I know they've been winning close games all year. They battle. Let's give them credit. I mean, their run game. Ben Johnson's got it. He's really created an identity in Chicago with running the football. Physicality, playing 12 personnel with Colston Loveland was a really good pick. Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet. They're running the football. Their offensive line is really good, especially in the run game. Ben Johnson has really formed an identity here. You like to see them be better on defense, but he's really formed an identity, and that's why I think the Bears take care of business. I think they win it by 2 scores. They take care of business. They win by 2 scores. They get to 10-4. This is a good football team. They've won a lot of close games, but this is a good football team, and I think they win this game. And they go into that Green Bay game potentially in first place. If the Packers lose, they'd be back in first, playing that game next Saturday night against the Bears. So we'll see what happens there. But I think the Bears pull it out this week. Now we got a matchup in the AFC North between the Ravens and Bengals. Bengals pretty much eliminated after blowing that game to the Bills last week. Got the Ravens, who need this win too, because the Steelers got a very winnable game on Monday night against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins will probably be without Achane. So the Ravens got. I think the Ravens got to win this game. But my issue with the Ravens is they just haven't been the same team this year. It starts with Lamar. Lamar really has not practiced fully in 4 weeks. We'll see if he practices today, but if he doesn't practice today, this would be the 5th week in a row he hasn't practiced fully. And you kind of saw this coming in their 5-game winning streak. In their win over the Browns and their win over the Jets, they didn't look that impressive. In the last 2 weeks against the Bengals on Thanksgiving, Lamar looked awful. He looked better last week if they were able to run the football, but he still does not look good. He's not look like MVP Lamar Jackson. And I think we're going to get a very uneven Lamar Jackson on Sunday. He'll make his plays, but he's also going to make his mistakes. I do think the Ravens are going to run the ball, but even though there's a good chance T. Higgins is out, I think Joe Burrow's going to have a big game, and he's going to be close and competitive. And I'm going Bengals here. I'm going Bengals here to win this one 28-24 over the Ravens. But Justin, can Lamar and the Ravens bounce back this week and stay in the race in the AFC North?
I got the Bengals as well here, 27-24. I did look. Lamar is out of practice. He's not practicing today, so
that's the 5th week in a row. That's the 5th week in a row that he's not practiced full. He's not right. I think they might. They made a mistake not sitting in one of these weeks. They really did. Because it's the ankle. I think it's the ankle injury. So they made a mistake not sitting in one of these weeks. They really did, because I don't think we're going to see the Lamar Jackson we're used to seeing all season long. We're not going to see it because he's been playing banged up all year, and you could just, when you watch it, he does not look like himself at all. He just doesn't. So he's missing. He's inaccurate, makes mistakes. Not as big of a threat as a runner. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see the same Lamar Jackson all season long. That's why, with him not practicing fully, I'm going to take the team who's going to get. Joe Burrow completely outplayed him on Thanksgiving night, and he's going to outplay him again. That's why I got the Bengals here.
Yeah, that's why I'm on the Bengals too. Like you're right. You're right on. Like something's not right, and it starts with Lamar Jackson and him not being healthy. And I'm surprised too. Like that Jet, you could have got out of there without him, and especially with the short week before Thanksgiving, like you could have gave him the Jet game off or one of those other games against Cleveland. You could have, because your season was on the line those 2 weeks at home against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and you went 0-2. You're 3-5 at home, and that's Harbaugh's usually great most years at home, and this year they're 3-5, which is and they have no pass rush this year. So, I know Cincinnati are pretty much cooked, but I think they would love to really put the nail in the coffin to Baltimore here and end their season too, in a couple of weeks. So I think Joe Burrow goes out there and plays well against this Ravens team that, both defenses aren't great right now, and I'll trust a more healthy quarterback to get it done late in the game.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why you got to take the Bengals here. Burrow's the more healthy quarterback. He's playing better. Yeah, there's a good chance Higgins is going to be out, but yeah, I think you take the healthier quarterback. That's why I got the Bengals. That's why you got the Bengals here, winning this game and going to 5-9, and having the Ravens slip to 6-8, losing their 3rd straight division game, and pretty much pretty much putting their playoff chances in pretty much ending their playoff chances. To be honest, they could end their playoff chances might be over by the time they kick off against New England next Sunday night.
Yeah, it could. It definitely could. That would help the Patriots out. So definitely, yeah, it could. It really could. And yeah, if they can't get out of this game with a win, and maybe they will because that defense is bad, as bad as Baltimore's. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough uphill climb, and yeah, their season could be over, and very, very could be over on Sunday.
It could be. It definitely could be. Now we got a matchup in the AFC West between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chiefs pretty much their season, outside of being mathematically out of it, they're pretty much out of it. Looking at the fact that look at the teams that are ahead of them. The Bills they lost to. They're 3 games ahead of them in the state. 4 games because they have the tiebreaker. The Chargers, they're right now they're not. They're pretty much 4 games ahead of them because they have the tiebreaker. And then the Texans, they're 3 games. They're pretty much 3 games. They're 3 games ahead of them because they have the tiebreaker. So they've lost the 5 seed, the 6 seed, and the 7 seed. They're currently the 10th seed in the AFC. But I do think they win this game because I do think they get pressure on Herbert. Let me tell you, the Chargers, yeah, they're 9-4, but that's because of the coach and quarterback. This offensive line's a disaster. This offensive line is terrible. It's an absolute disaster. I mean, they missed, and it's expected seeing the 2 tackles they lost. They lost Joe Alt and they lost Rashawn Slater. Those are 2 top tackles in the game, and that's completely changed their offensive line. Their offensive line, you saw it on Monday night. It was awful. I mean, they're thankful for Jalen Hurts throwing 4 picks. That's why they won that game. But I think that Herbert makes plays, but he also makes some mistakes. I think Mahomes manages this game. I think the Chiefs run the ball pretty well, and I think they win a close one here. I'm going to go with Kansas City to get revenge from Week 1. I got the Chiefs 27-20. But Justin, can the Chargers sweep the Chiefs and mathematically knock them out of the playoffs?
No, I'm with you. I got Kansas City 23-20. I'm going down with the ship. You know, I said it like when we talked about the Chiefs last year, and I think we brought it up, and all the close games they won, they were never that impressive last year. And now, and they just found ways to win close games. And this year, it's been the complete opposite. Like they really haven't looked like Kansas City more in like the last, been close to around like 3 years. Like this, it hasn't been the same offense. Mahomes played, probably his worst game of the career. Brady never played that bad, and Gronk never dropped as many passes as Kelsey does.
No, that drop on Sunday night, you never saw Gronk drop a ball like that.
Nope, Gronk would never. So, Brady, Gronk, best QB tight end combo of all time. And Kansas City's lost, Kansas City's lost 4 or 5 here. The Chargers though are just banged up, and Herbert didn't look totally healthy last week, and I think the Chiefs can get some pressure on them. And I do think Kansas City finds a way to keep their season aligned, but Harbaugh, since going to LA, he's 8-2 in divisional games, so he's done pretty well in these games. But I have to see the nail be in the coffin in Kansas City, and until that happens, I have to keep picking them, I guess, in these games because there's still a path that they find ways to get it done. And I know it hasn't happened this year, but it could happen this week. And I just, I want them out. I know they're not playing great, but I don't want them coming to New England. If New England's like the 2 seed, I don't want to see them in divisional round. I don't.
Yeah, I bet you. I absolutely. I bet you don't. I'm confident that you don't want to see them in the divisional round. You definitely don't. So yeah. I think that it's a close competitive game. I think Kansas City wins. But yeah, they just this year, you said it. Last year they won games, but they weren't totally dominant. This year it's showing up this year where they're losing a lot of the games. They're losing the games that they won last year. They're 1-6 in 1-score games. You could almost argue 1-7 because that game was kind of like a 1-score game to the Texans because they kicked a field goal with a minute to go. So yeah, I think that yes, I think Kansas City's it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be extremely difficult for Kansas City to make the playoffs. They're pretty much done, but I think they do. I think they do win this week because I don't think the Chargers are a great team. I think they're good. I just don't think they're a great team, and I just can't see them beating the Chiefs twice. So, and then 2 of Harbaugh's losses in division are to the Chiefs. So he is 1-2 against the Chiefs. So I think he goes to 1-3 against the Chiefs. Chargers lose this one and go to 9-5. But we'll move on to a team that holds the last wild card spot in the AFC, and that's the Texans. And they've been red hot. They've been one of the hottest teams. They've been the hottest team in the league lately. They've won 5 in a row. And I think they make it 6. I think this pass rush because the Arizona has their 2 starting tackles out, so it's going to be a rough day for Jacoby Brissett. I think Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter have huge games. I think C.J. Stroud manages the game because that's all he's got to do. And I got the Texans here. 23-10 over the Cardinals. But Justin, can Brissett lead the Cards to an upset win in Houston?
No, it'd be a long day for Jacoby Brissett in that offense. The got the Texans 24-10 because this team can't run the football, and now you're going to let the Texans pass rush just kind of go to work, and they only have to bring 4 guys to get home. They don't have to send extra pressure, and they're so good in the secondary where, they're good playing man-to-man coverage, and they could drop the other 7. So, this is this Texas team's playing great football right now. I think Nico Collins has a big day. I think Stroud plays pretty well. That offense starting to get it together. I think it'd be a long day for Jacoby Brissett in that offense. I think he's probably gonna have to throw the ball 50 times, and he might get sacked 7 or 8 of them. So it'd be a long day for Arizona, and Texans win comfortably.
I think so too. I think the Texans win this one. Definitely win this one comfortably. Now we got the team that is ahead of the Texans. The team that is in first place in the AFC South, and that's the Jaguars. And they host the Jets this week. And there's a chance that Brady Cook could start this game. And I think it's going to be a disaster against this Jacksonville front 7. They won't be the Jets. I think they'll struggle again like they did last week. I think it's going to be disastrous for them. I think that Travis Etienne's got a big game in the ground. I think Lawrence will throw a couple touchdowns. I got the Jags going away here. I got the Jags 27-10 over the Jets. And Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got Jags 20-13. Yeah, Brady Cook. More than likely, if he gets started, I think he's going to struggle because the Jets want to run the football. Jacksonville has been tough to do that all year against, and Trevor Lawrence has been playing really good football the last couple weeks, and I think that continues because Jets still don't have an interception. So we'll see if they can pick one up before the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see. It's been as expected, a very rough year for the Jets. It looks like they're going to get a very high draft pick. Now, moving on to 2 teams that should get high draft picks too. We stay in New York, a meaningless game at MetLife Stadium this week between the Commanders and the Giants. Jaden Daniels will be out. Looks like he'll be out for the rest of the year. So Marcus Mariota will get the start. And I think it's a close competitive game, but I'm going to take Dan Quinn is 3-0 against the Giants since he's been the Commanders head coach. I think it's close and competitive, but I think he goes to 4-0. I think the Giants again find a way to lose this one. I think they do. I think it's close and competitive, but I think it's both quarterbacks play pretty well. I think Dart plays pretty well, and Daniel plays pretty well. And no, not Daniel. Mariota plays pretty well, but I think one of them makes a mistake either way. And I think it comes down to the end where the Giants defense can't make a stop against the Commanders offense. And I'm going to go with the Commanders to sweep the Giants for the second year in a row. I'm going to go with them to sweep the Giants for the second year in a row. I got the Commanders here 23-20 over the Giants. Justin, who you got?
I got taking your Giants here 23-18. You guys won the bye week. On the number
I know, didn't lose. And they actually, for the first time all year, they're a favorite in a game. They're a 2.5-point favorite against the Commanders.
Wow. Yeah, I guess that makes sense with your schedule. I guess it makes sense that it'd be the first time all year. But look, I just don't trust. I get what you're saying. Like the Giants could very well lose this football game, but I trust the Giants even more than I trust the Commanders defense. I think Dart plays pretty well in this one, and I think during this 8-game winning streak or 8-game losing streak for the Commanders, they've only covered one spread in that time. I think Dart just plays well enough in this one. And I think Mariota will make some plays, but I think Giants hold them in the red zone, and Giants come out with a win here. Do you want to win, or do you want that number 1 pick?
I want Dart to play well, and I want Carter to play well. It'd be nice to have the number 1 pick because we're definitely we definitely get a haul for it. That's the thing is they could. So but I do want Dart to play well. I don't want Dart. I don't want to see Dart lose like every game the rest of the season. I want Dart to play well. So I just think probably just win because I just want I want guys like Hart and Dart. I know there are Giant fans that want to lose and get that number 1 pick and then trade it and get a haul for it, but it's going to be hard for them to lose to all the next 4 games because look who they got: the Commanders, the Vikings with JJ McCarthy, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. So there's a good chance they'll win at least one of those 4 games, maybe 2 of those games. So it's hard, but I would say I want Jack Hart to play well, so I would say win.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Hopefully then you lose like a high scoring 35-31 game. Something like that where Dart plays well and you still lose out. But one more. I was shocked that Notre Dame yesterday did not give Marcus Freeman an extension. I wonder if he's jumping, especially the way Sunday ended.
He could be. I could see him jumping. I could see him being our next head coach. It definitely could be.
There's some smoke to the. I guess now some books have him minus 200 to be the Giants head coach.
Wow.
Yeah. I think there might be better options, but it could be. If you get Marcus Freeman, that's a home run.
Oh, that'd be a good hire. There's no NFL coaching experience, but I think that'd be a really good hire. Seeing the success that he's had at Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, I think he'd be a great hire because I think he's leveled up that program since Brian Kelly left. So, yeah, you can get Brian Kelly, get a haul for your first overall pick. Ty could finally be turning in New York for at least one of the teams.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they get this coaching, if they get this GM and this coaching hire right, it definitely, it absolutely could be with Scadaboo, with Neighbors, with Dart, and the offensive line has played better this year. No, if they, I'm telling you, if they get they just got to get the coach and GM hire right, which they haven't they have not the last 4 times with the head coach, and they haven't the last 2 times with the general manager. So it's hard to trust this ownership group. But yeah, if they could somehow get that right, they will be in good shape, but it's hard to trust that this ownership group is going to get it right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's very trusted. It's very hard to trust that ownership group to figure it out and get it right. So, I'm with you there. So hopefully they do it now because you got some pieces in place to be competitive, and now it's just the final piece of the puzzle is getting that head coach.
Yep, exactly. That's what it is, and GM because Joe Shane's got to go too. So the head
Yeah,
coach and
GM too. Yeah, yeah.
both those things got to go. But this should be an attractive job because of Jackson Dart. That Jackson Dart does make this an attractive job. So Giants and Commanders will play on Sunday, but both teams pretty much looking towards the future because both have been eliminated from the postseason. So we got a matchup in the NFC South between the Panthers and the Saints. Saints, they beat the Panthers. Let's not forget they beat the Panthers earlier in the year in Carolina. Also, they beat the Bucks in Tampa. So they've been competing. But in this game, I think that Rico Dabo has a good game on the ground. I think Bryce Young plays well. I do think Tyler Shuck keeps him in it, but I won't do enough. I'm going to go with the Panthers to keep pace with the Bucks in the NFC South to set up their matchup next week when they play against each other in Carolina. I got the Panthers here 27-20 over the Saints. But Justin, can the Saints pull off an upset and sweep the Panthers this year?
I think they keep it close, but I got the Panthers too, 2018. You never know what you're going to get out of Carolina. I'm going to trust them coming off a bye that Bryce Young plays pretty well in this one and does enough. And Rico Dowell has a pretty good game on the ground here. And Tyler Shuck's shown some things here in New Orleans, and he's played pretty well. And, you know, he kind of hurt Tampa Bay too last week with his leg. So maybe make a couple plays. They've been feisty. I wouldn't be shocked if they upset Carolina again, but coming off the bye, meaningful game. I'm going to take Carolina, but it's signs of a young team in Carolina that you just never know what you can get out of them week in and week out.
All right, Niners and Titans. Niners go to Santa Clara to face the Titans, and I think this is a game where the Niners win big. I think that Purdy's a big game, CMC is a big game, Kittle is a big game, and I think Robert Saleh's defense with his blitzes forces Cam Ward to make mistakes. I got the Niners for 31-13. Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got 24-10. Back-to-back road games for Tennessee. Niners coming off a bye here. I think Brock Purdy plays pretty well. I think that defense gets after Cam Ward, makes a couple of big plays in this one, and the Niners win by a couple scores here at home.
All right, to wrap it up, we got the Monday night game between the Dolphins and the Steelers. I think this game is going to be. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be close and competitive. But there's a chance the Dolphins might not have Achane. There's a chance it's going to be cold in Pittsburgh, which means the Dolphins don't play well in the cold. So I do think they force a couple turnovers from Tua. I think Aaron Rodgers makes less mistakes in this game. I think the better coach team wins this game. The Dolphins have been hot. They've won their last 4, and they've won 5 of their last 6. But I am going to go with the Steelers here. I got the Steelers winning this one 23-17 over the Dolphins. But, Justin, can the Dolphins win their 5th in a row and stay in the playoff race in the AFC?
No, I got the Steelers here as well, 24-17. You mentioned the weather; it could be in the teens by kickoff on Monday night. So yeah, the Dolphins aren't going to like that. And yeah, with no Achane, it's going to be tougher, I think, to get that running game going this week. So I think Rodgers plays well, and they figured some things out in offense last week. Now that just could be the Ravens' defense. But I think Rodgers does enough here at home on Monday night in the Pittsburgh continues to stay kind of in control there of the North Division.
Yeah, we both got the Steelers winning this week and the Ravens losing. So we got Pittsburgh in complete control of the division. We got the Ravens Steelers at 8-6 finishing this week, and we got the Steelers at 8-6 and the Ravens at 6-8. So we got the Steelers in complete control of the AFC North, finishing week 15. But that's going to wrap up this edition of Sports Talk with RNJ. But we are going to be back in about 15 minutes talking about breaking news in Major League Baseball and reacting to the final rankings of the college football playoff. So make sure you tune in for that.